spoke to him earlier and began by asking him why anyone should vote for the SDLP.
Well, Paul, this is a very, very important election. We don't know what's coming after it. We could have a set of negotiations or we could have a government. But I think what we've had...
People that I represent, the innocent victims right across... People that I represent, the innocent victims right across Northern Ireland are tired of being... People that I represent, the innocent victims right across Northern Ireland are tired of being excluded, left behind and left out.
All right, gentlemen, that's where we must leave it. Thank you very much indeed, all of you, for coming in. Now, we continue our in-depth interviews with the leaders of the 5 larger parties. Tonight it's the turn of the SDLP's Colm Eastwood. I spoke to him earlier and began by asking him why anyone should vote for the SDLP.
Well, Paul, this is a very, very important election. We don't know what's coming after it. We could have a set of negotiations or we could have a government. But I think what we've had for the last 10 years hasn't been good enough. People have tried the partnership between Sinn Féin and the DUP, and now we are where we are. We've had a lack of delivery when the executive was up and running, and now we don't even have an executive. And
I think you were part of that, weren't you? You were part of the government for 9.5 of the last 10 years.
We took our place in government. We had one minister. We did a lot of things, like we built more social housing than anybody else. We protected town centres. We did all those things. But the DUP and Sinn Féin ran the show. They told everybody they ran the show. They kept things from us. They kept things from other small parties. And it wasn't a government of partnership. And that's why we stepped out, because we couldn't get the type of things that the public need to see happening by a government. But I think a different type of politics is what needs to come to the fore, and we're offering that opportunity.
This March, you're running 21 candidates. Are you serious about government if you're running only 21 candidates?
Oh, absolutely. You know, this is going to be a smaller assembly, and 17 or 18 seats will get you into Stormont Castle. So we're running enough candidates to be in government. We're also not about the type of government that the DUP and Sinn Féin are about: exclusive, closed down, narrow government. We want an open government. We want to be in partnership with people like Mike Nesbitt and the Ulster Unionist Party.
Let me try on one point here.
Also think,
would you want to be in partnership with the DUP under Arlene Foster?
No, we've told the DUP that until Arlene Foster steps aside, until the results of the public inquiry are published, then we shouldn't be doing government with Arlene Foster. Nobody else should either. There's a cloud of scandal hanging over Arlene Foster, where £500 million is going to be wasted of our public money. How could we be in government?
But Arlene Foster, to be fair now, denies having done anything wrong here.
Yeah, of course, and let's see what the public inquiry says. And when it comes out, if she's exonerated, then it's a different...
Let's see what the public inquiry does deliver. Now, you mentioned Mike Nesbitt by name there. Are you on a joint ticket with the Ulster Unionists?
No, the SDLP is the SDLP. We have our own party, our own policy, our own history, our own ideas.
So you vote for Colm and you get Colm?
Well, of course you do, but what we're very, very clear about is that if we want to have a different type of politics, a renewed partnership, a cooperation, that we're two parties who actually want to work together. We're not two parties that just have to work together. We've proven it in opposition, with opposition days, joint motions, and a different type of attitude than the DUP and Sinn Féin.
None of that's going to happen if there is no assembly up and running, though.
Well, let's hope there is, and we're fighting. We'll be fighting tooth and nail to make sure that there is an assembly up and running. But it has to be one based on partnership, based on cooperation. Power sharing isn't just a structure; it's an attitude. And the attitude that I have and the attitude that Mike Nesbitt has, it means that we can work together, and we actually like working together despite all of our differences. And I firmly believe that the public want a different type of politics, and they can make a difference, and they can make that change if they come out and vote.
You can only go so far down the road before there is friction between yourselves and the Ulster Unionists, because the bottom line for you is a united Ireland. The bottom line for the Ulster Unionists is remaining within the UK.
Yeah, I'm an Irish nationalist. Mike Nesbitt is an Ulster Unionist.
So where's the common ground?
Well, the system that we have means that nationalism and unionism have to work together. That's what the system is. It's called power sharing. I can work with Mike Nesbitt. I want to see Northern Ireland working. So does Mike Nesbitt. Of course I want to see United Ireland. I'll argue till the day I die. Hopefully I don't have to wait that long to see United Ireland. Mike Nesbitt will always argue for the maintenance of the status quo. But on all other issues, we can work together. In fact, we're working together right now, and you'll see the fruits of that soon. I think we would be a government ready and willing to work on day one. But we're not just about working with the Ulster. We want to work with any other party who's prepared to make change happen in this election.
How do you encourage those people, almost 50% of them, who stayed away in the last election, to come out and vote for parties like yours this time?
Yeah, well, look, I think the last year tells us an awful lot about politics. We had Trump, we've had Brexit, all things that I didn't like, but it shows something. It shows that ordinary people can come out and change things. The idea that many commentators will tell us that nothing can ever change in Northern Ireland, that we'll always have the same parties, that has been destroyed, that idea, because people have seen now that change can happen if they get out and vote. And this, if ever there was an election when people needed to come out and show their support for change and for the middle ground, this is it.
More people voted in the referendum than voted in the last Assembly election. How can you be sure that on the 2nd of March they will come out again?
Well, we can't be sure. That's why we're not resting on our laurels around this. People need to understand that this election can bring us back to where we need to be. If those 90,000 odd people who voted in the Brexit referendum and didn't vote in the May Assembly elections, if they came out to vote, they would have a massive impact in this election. We could have a different type of politics, one based in cooperation, one based in partnership, one ready and willing to tackle all the challenges that we have. But people, if they sit at home, we get the same result, and that hasn't worked so far.
Well, even if people come out to vote, we're told that we may also get the same result, because we're told in certain quarters that it is going to be an orange and green election again. That squeezes the middle ground. That squeezes your vote, does it not?
Yeah, well, commentators can say all sorts of things, and it's quite obvious that Arlene Foster and to a certain extent Sinn Féin want to create a culture war around this and make it a big orange and green battle. I'm green. Other people are orange. There's nothing wrong with that. But to make our politics about that only distracts from the fact that we've had 10 years of DUP Sinn Féin run government. We have an RHI scandal.
With an input from the SDLP.
Oh yes, but a very small input, unfortunately. If people want a bigger input from the SDLP, they should vote for it. We've had an RHI scandal that Sinn Féin and the DUP knew about a year ago, that the First Minister knew about long before that because she set up the scheme. They did nothing about it until the public started hearing about it. If people really want that again, they should vote for that. But if people want change, there's an opportunity no matter what any commentator tells you. Your vote matters. Brexit tells it. Trump tells it. This is an opportunity to change things.
Well, now, two things to draw you on following what you've just said there. Brexit. You were in favour of Brexit. Are you convinced that there could be a frictionless border, as it's been referred to?
I think if Theresa May agrees to stay within the customs union, or at least to let us stay within the customs union and within the European Economic Area, then all things are possible. We've been arguing for special status from day one.
But we've been told we're not going to get special status.
Yeah, well, we've heard lots of things from Theresa May. Her position seems to change almost daily, and so does his around Brexit. He, of course, was a Remainer. What we're doing, we're speaking to the Dublin government. I was with the Taoiseach last week. We're using our influence across Europe, and we have lots of it through our sister parties. I sit with the leaders of governments right across Europe very, very regularly.
But shouldn't you be convincing the British government,
we're doing that
which is responsible for this part of the island?
But it's quite clear to me that this decision will be taken at a European level. That's why we're using whatever influence we have to do that. It's very unfortunate, however, that after 6 or 7 months of government post-Brexit, our executive couldn't even put a paper in to the British government. When the Scottish did, the Welsh did, our executive sat in their hands. And it's all very well talking about special status now, but when people were in government, they didn't do anything.
Would that be different? Would that be different? Under an SDLP government?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can resolve the problems around Brexit. By the way, I don't think any government can operate unless we do up front deal with the issues around Brexit. And that means no border. It means allowing people to do business and to trade and to work and move around the island.
But you're also talking about going into opposition. There is an opposition here of sorts, but it's not protected in the same way as it would be across the water. So it doesn't have the teeth that you crave if you're voting or asking people to vote for you to go into opposition.
Well, we're not. We're asking people to vote for us to go into government. We want to be in government. We want it to be a very different type of government, a different style of government.
So that's renegotiating.
One that actually implements things.
That's renegotiating.
Well, I went to the Programme for Government negotiations last May after the election. Want to honestly go in, negotiate. We put a lot of work in, put a lot of papers in. Nobody wanted to negotiate back with me. Sinn Féin told us that it's in or out and that's it. They didn't want to talk about any of the issues like the Irish Language Act or any of these things that they're now very annoyed about. So they just went into government with the DUP without getting any kind of... Well, that's what happened. I was there. That's what happened. And now they're spending a lot of time rubbishing their own record in government. So I find that all very strange. We're up for negotiation this time. We're always up for negotiating. But our position will be determined by what's right for people out there. Nothing to do with the SDLP's position.
Let me draw you on the comments that you made not too long ago about Donald Trump. Has your view of Trump, who is now President Trump, Has your view changed?
No, I think I've been, unfortunately, proven right about Donald Trump. And I find it strange now that people are shocked that Donald Trump is actually implementing the policies that he said he would implement. I think he's a disgrace.
This is called democracy, by the way. You may disagree with it, but this is called democracy. This is what the American people voted for.
Yes, and that's right. And the American people get to decide who their own leaders are. We also, though, as Democrats, have a right to stand up for the downtrodden across the world who are being abused by Donald Trump and his administration. And I think it's right.
Well, now, don't you have to be careful?
Well, I think it's
what you're saying.
Well, I think it's right, of course, that we will engage in America. I've been engaging with American politicians and business people for a long time, and I will be doing it even during the Trump administration. But I won't pretend everything's all right, and I don't think others should either.
Colm Eastwood, thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Colm Eastwood speaking to me earlier. Next week, we talk to the Ulster Unionist leader, Mike Nesbitt. That's View from Stormont for this week. Thank you for watching. Good night. Sleep well.